I just want people to try the best they can to listen to their body. I don't
Amen.
think that we are taught to do that. Like we talked about before we started recording, we just act like this little delicate thing with skin and blood vessels is not a human spirit. We act like we're made out of some machine, like we're a microwave or something. I don't know what we think our bodies are made out of. So I think you kind of get into this mode where you've turned yourself into a machine. And so it's really hard, Dr. Jewel, but you have to just be quiet. And I would say people should focus on their breathing. I would recommend them just get outside and just really, really put their hands on their heart and just try to listen in and listen to what your body's saying and the Holy Spirit is saying through you, and see if they're really okay with what's going on and what they're putting their body through right now.
You're listening to Cold Press Conversations with Dr. Jewel White Williams, a lover of numbers, lists, and a good glass of cold pressed juice, who is sharing episodes each week to help you explore the back end of healthcare and health sciences, where a lot of that grit is done. We'll dive into topics covering research, education, and clinical practices, as well as guest shows with other leaders in the field. Pull up a seat and let's dive into these amazing and game-changing conversations. We're here on Cold Press Conversations because we have Dr. Cindy Starke, and I am so elated to have her here. We always use elated, thrilled, excited, and I could just go on to all the different types of adjectives. But the reason I am more so thrilled to have her here is because when I watch her on her Facebook page, it gives you energy. And when we think about Dr. Starke, she talks about being an accomplished and driven, passionate, engaging, and energetic pioneer woman. She encourages her audiences to get honest with their food, activity, and sleep choices, mindset, relationships, and spirituality, to challenge their preconceived notions of what they are capable of and unleash and discover the champion that has always been inside of them. As an award-winning author, doctor, entrepreneur, and mentor, Dr. Cindy Starke has inspired 100,000 patients across America to be the best versions of themselves. Dr. Starke was the first person in her family to attend college, but she didn't stop with her bachelor's degree. She challenged herself and was awarded a prestigious Woodruff Scholarship at Emory University, and received both an MD and a PhD in molecular genetics. As a board-certified internal medicine physician for over 20 years, she has cared for patients in every possible setting, from urgent care, traditional outpatient clinics, to the hospital. She has appeared on radio shows and a dozen podcasts and has been profiled in Moxie magazine and Gainesville Times newspaper in the Northeast Georgia region. Her genetic research has been published in peer-reviewed national scientific journals, including Journal of Bacteriology and Journal of Infectious Diseases. Her signature style of delivery is passionate, energetic, brutally honest, and has set her apart as a speaker, teacher, and trainer. She is the award-winning author of From Fear and Failure to the Finish Line, Unleashing Your Potential and Discover the Champion Within, in which she chronicles her circuitous journey to the finish line of an Ironman triathlon, 140.6 miles of ocean swimming, biking, and running. Through her group and mentoring program, she is dedicated to helping women entering the second half of their lives identify what is preventing them from having ideal health, longevity, to embrace their power, challenge their self-limiting beliefs, and use the power within to completely change the trajectory of their lives going forward. Oh, I think we're going to have fun today. I'll tell you a little piece. My husband went to Emory University.
No way. Where do you live?
We live in Virginia, but he went to Emory University in Georgia, got his bachelor's there. Mm-hmm.
The Indigo Girls played there, and gosh, what was that band? Culture Club? Not Culture Club. Oh, I can't remember right now. But we always hung out with the undergrads there too. It was
Did you
so
really? Yeah,
awesome. Yeah.
and let me tell you, he and his friends talk about Emory all the time, even up to now.
I just visited there last week, but I want to live there again. Like Decatur is just gives me life. I became a doctor there. So many changes and just, declarations of who I was in the world. It just represents so much power and potential to me. I love that city.
I mean, yeah, he loves it too. Trust me. He just, every time he gets a chance, he wants to go back. Trust me.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Hmm.
We had just a little chat before we just really began the podcast, and your biography gives so much to, I mean, we could go on for days on this podcast because I love a lot of the stuff you talked about. But we talk about the burnout. We got to look at ourselves as women entering the second halves of our lives. And we talk about being tired. And you gave a few
Hmm.
examples. So, in the midst of your demanding schedule and all of your contributions to the medical field and to the community, what do you do beyond maybe the triathlons?
I only
Huh?
did one triathlon, Dr.
Oh,
Williams.
okay.
It was one and done. It was too
Oh,
much, and I proved it to myself I could do it. I never did it again.
oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But I learned so much, and I'm like, great, that was great learning. Goodbye.
So, what do you
So
do
now
now then?
I stay in shape other ways, you know.
Uh,
Well, goodness, I have now entered this phase of my life at this moment where I got divorced from my husband. My kids both left home and went off to college. I retired from full time medicine. I went through menopause, and I swear there was one other thing. I think that's enough, though.
yeah, it's a
And
lot.
I still take care of patients, but right now I'm doing it in the way I want to do it that doesn't burn me out. And so
Oh,
I am taking care of hospice patients.
mm,
I am taking care of home health patients. And then
okay.
I work whenever I feel like I have the energy to go into a physical hospital. I go into a physical hospital somewhere between 5 and 14 days a month, depending on what I want to do. I call it a moonlighter. I call it's my doctoring gigs, and I have 4 of them. Everybody in medicine talks so funny. They said, Dr. Stark, so you mean you can titrate up and titrate down the amount you work every month? And I said, yeah, I'm titrating down this month, titrated up last month. It's just funny. But yeah, I spend a lot of time with my kids. They're both in college, and
Oh.
they're both musicians. They have bands.
Oh,
And
wow.
so, like, literally, you can mostly find me in Athens trying to sneak in the back door watching my son play his indie garage rock because he doesn't want me to embarrass him. So I have to
Oh,
go into the
okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
don't talk to the band, Mom. You're embarrassing me.
And let me tell you, family is so important. I think that's energetic as well.
Yeah, yeah,
That builds your whole.
yeah, yeah.
It makes you who
Yeah.
you are. I love my family, and I love people who really talk about their family because it just gives them so much joy. And that's the reason why I just was curious, because I love just asking, what do you do for fun? And lately, a lot of them are like, my kids or just being around family. That is where we have to get our energy from.
So yes, I put 2 things into my bucket before anything else goes in.
Uh huh.
First, I do my service work, with all my doctoring gigs, and then I just want to pour into my kids. But then, how I pour into Cindy
Hmm.
is I do these really cool things. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Not many people have, but they're called vortex tours, where you
Mm,
go into the deep, deep mountains and you just kind of like do this forest soaking, where you just let your body kind of get imbibed with the energy of the forest. And
really?
I don't know how to do it myself, so I hire someone to take me on these tours. I
Uh
do
huh.
them alone. I do them at least 2 or 3 times a year. And then I also host, I call them primitive luxury retreats. We go into the forest and I make food on the campfire and I lead meditations, and
Are you
I just
serious?
do a short hike with ladies. Yeah. So I really love being in nature, deep in nature, like in the forest, camping by myself in a tent. I mean, if people will go with me, I have girlfriends that I take with me, but if they don't, I'll just go by myself. So that's what I like to do a lot too.
Okay, you talked about your girlfriends. So, how do you support women when they are transitioning? Because you have a wealth of experience with medicine, with women, and understanding. What do you find are the key strategies to navigate and overcome some of these demanding careers? Because you talk about all the fun stuff, but you're also helping women do this.
Yeah, yeah. So let me just take it back a second. And I just want to tell you a little bit about why I do what I do. And then I'm going to tell you how, if that's
That's
okay.
fine. That's fine.
When I was a teenager, my mom and dad were not really like me. My brother and sister aren't really like me. Sometimes I used to think I was born into the wrong family, but I'm not. God put me here for a reason, and He gave me the challenges He gave me for a reason. And unfortunately, I was a victim of some sexual abuse at the hands of my brother's friends. I was 14 to 15 years old. all of them were 19 to 20 years old. And yeah, they just
I'm
kind of took
sorry.
advantage of me in my sleep,
Oh,
of all
wow.
places. And I got so sick and tired of that happening. And I didn't have my voice and I didn't want to get my brother in trouble. So I never told anybody it was happening. I just sat there and laid there and let it happen. And I said, I want to get as far away from this house as I can. And I swear to you, I did not know it at the time, but God somehow arranged this path for me to go and use education as my way out of that. My brother
Okay.
was into drugs and alcohol, and he went to jail a couple of times, just a really bad situation. And I just knew I had to get as far away from that as possible. So, these scholarships came out of the blue, these jobs came out of the blue, these publication opportunities came out of the blue. And, so I just kept going and going and going and got not one doctorate degree, but two. And then, I couldn't just do a triathlon, I had to do an Ironman triathlon. And I just kind of I never even faced that stuff that had happened to me as a child. And
Oh.
I realized, it kind of dawned on me around the pandemic, I believe, a little bit before that, that I was kind of like perfectionist, overachiever, type A, just doing, proving to myself that I was worthy of
Hmm.
protection, of love, of respect by a man, all that kind of stuff. And then I was able to forgive myself through this really deep healing that I went through. And I said, I've got to teach other women how to do this, because if this happened to me, and I didn't realize till I was almost 50 years old that I need to forgive myself, how many other women are suffering from this?
Gotcha,
So yeah,
gotcha.
that's what lights me up. But the way I do it is through Christian based subconscious trauma release. We literally go in a state of meditation, only if God allows it, go into some really deep places together. It's like these 2-hour meditations, and I do a bunch of them with my women. And we go back and find stuff that was buried deep in there. And then we ask God to kind of take away the trauma, heal the inner child that got hurt,
Hmm.
and then just resource them and take everybody to the hue of light where God resides and where all of his healing and wisdom and understanding lies. And it's just amazing to watch it happen. With my own two eyes, I get to see it. It's just so exciting.
Oh my gosh. I like
Yes,
that. I like that. I like that.
it's deep, but it's beautiful.
Do you use any of your medical profession within this?
Not really. I do, in the sense that I realize very intimately the limitations of our human bodies, which is what we were talking about before we went on air. And
Yeah.
so I think I can never take the doctor out of me. So as I'm having these transformative experiences with these women, I'm always dropping truth bombs and I'm seeing things that they say, and I offer a little bit of wisdom or a reframe. But yeah, not in the actual meditation with
Mhm.
to do all that trauma release. It's just me and God and that person, if it's allowed. And it's just a deep healing. No medicine there, but I am always a doctor, so I kind of take myself everywhere I go.
Right, right. Okay, I got you. You have no choice. You can't
Yeah.
take away what you've learned. I mean, you have the
No.
depth of it. And I know that you talk
Yes.
about working with hospice patients and home health. I love that. So I'm going to tell you this, and then I want you to just do whatever you want with it. The first person that came to me, I was 24 years old. It was my godfather. And he came to me and he said, Jewel, I just want to let you know that I have esophageal cancer and I just need a little help. And I said, I'm always here. What's up? What's going on? He and I sat down and we just went over a whole bunch of stuff. And then we brought mom in. I mean, it was because he's my godfather. So, I mean, we always stayed in touch. And one of the things I wanted to do is make sure that he had a very memorable last few moments. So I went on a huge search for a hospice place that would give that love, a form of healing, the type of care. It was very different. I haven't seen it recently, the type of care that they gave. What do you do to give that care? Because the reason I say that is because you could tell it was within them. They loved what they were doing. And their
Absolutely.
spirit was just so whole. And I have a
Yeah.
feeling something tells me you do something similar.
I'll tell you the role I play, and then it's really the team that I'm a part of. So I unfortunately never get to go and see the patients. What I do is support the team, and there's a team of 7 people. They're mostly women. There's a couple of men, and there's a chaplain that goes into the home, or if it's in a nursing home. Sometimes, people choose to die where they choose to die. Those usually in the home, it seems like. But there's nurses, caseworkers, the chaplain, and a social worker, and then anything else they might need, whether it's a nurse, it's physical therapy, whatever it might be. And they go in there into the home environments, and then they come back and tell me about it. We meet every 2 weeks in person, and I just sign off on all of their orders, and I, do the documentation for Medicare. So actually, unfortunately, I don't get to see the patients, but I do sometimes face to face, they'll call them up on my camera and I'll look at them. But yeah, these women are just amazing. The spirit that they have, and the
Okay, there we
stories they
go.
tell, and
Yeah.
the meals that they share with these people. And oh my gosh, I cry about 4 times every IDG. So, it's what it's called, the meetings, the interdisciplinary big team meetings. But yeah, it's a special group of people that go into the homes of the
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes me sad sometimes because I have to do the documentation. So I spend several hours a month just writing, typing these stories of people's dying stories.
Yeah.
And, they have to keep qualifying for hospice services. So I
Yeah.
have to prove that they're declining. And it's sad to write about it, but I just feel that I am doing such a good service with God's people, and I'm helping them die a more dignified death,
There you
and I'm helping
go.
them eat around the people that they love,
Yes.
and around the food and the grandchildren and the lights and the candles and the smells and, anything that they love. So they're not in the hospital dying with a tube shoved down their throat and IVs all over their arms. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
I got you. The reason I brought it up and I told my personal story is it was literally a hospice facility. And what you described and the way that I watched my father go on to glory, we gave it a nice peaceful. We had music flowing. They brought the TV and we had just very soft music. Of course, they had some food there for both of us and we could say prayers.
Yeah. Do you want to know what happens sometimes in a hospital setting is that people don't want to be there with their loved ones,
Here
and
we
we
go.
have to fill in the gap, and we have to hold their hands and sing to them and sing them up to the Holy Spirit. Some people can't handle that. So I'm so glad you were there for your dad like that, because I
Yeah.
always think to myself, these people don't want me at their bedside. They want their loved ones.
I was with 2 out of the 7 because I care for 7 for my mom as well. And not everyone is as fortunate to have their minister with them. And my minister came for my mom and sat with me. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, with
Wow.
my husband. It was the 3 of us. Yeah. And I wanted to bring that up because we talk about burnout in profession, not speaking ill. I think when you're in that setting as a professional, something of hospice or something of someone who is critically ill, what you do is crucial because that type of setting, as you stated, can bring a burnout because it
Mm-hmm.
wears on your emotions
Mm-hmm.
as a hospice provider. And it seems as though you're doing a lot with people.
Mm-hmm.
So I want you to reflect on something.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to reflect your time when you were hospice
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
experienced those high volume settings.
Mm-hmm.
And then you transitioned into holistic wellness and mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to someone who's in that high volume setting, that setting that is influenced? Because we know it can be very energetic. All right, it's very busy. What would you say to the person who is at that level and they're watching this? If you gave them one piece of advice, what would you tell them to do?
So you're making me like really tear up because I retired last April from full-time medicine. I had kind of changed into a different position a few months earlier than that. So it's been about 16 months since I've been there. Okay. So I'm
Mhm.
really trying to dig deep and reflect back because I think at this moment in my life, I've blocked out some of it because it is so traumatizing. But I just want people to try the best they can to listen to their body. I
There
don't
we go.
think that we are taught to do that. Like we talked about before we started recording, we just act like this little delicate thing with skin and blood vessels is not a human spirit. We act like we're made out of some machine, like we're a microwave or something. I don't know what we think our bodies are made out of. So I think you kind of get into this mode where you've turned yourself into a machine. And so it's really hard, Dr. Jewel, but you have to just be quiet. And I would say people should focus on their breathing. I would recommend them just get outside and just really, really put their hands on their heart and just try to listen in and listen to what your body's saying and the Holy Spirit is saying through you, and see if they're really okay with what's going on and what they're putting their body through right now.
Okay.
Because we don't realize that we are just giving our bodies away like this to these machines of the hospital and machines of extra shifts, and everybody is tugging at me all the time, even though all I have is part-time jobs. Everyone is constantly asking me, can you work this shift? Can you work this shift? And I'm just like, no, I can only do 8 this month. Like, I mean, you have to protect yourself. But if you don't listen in, you don't even know that you're tired. You're drinking alcohol or eating a half a gallon of ice cream at night, or you're just like going through life like a zombie during the day and drinking coffee and, frappuccinos all day long. The food that people eat, like they've completely disconnected from their bodies. So they have to get quiet, get calm, get still. I love the heart, connecting to your heart, being in nature, and just see if you're okay with it. And if you're not, reach out to me. I love talking to people and see if they are ready to do something different. Because I'm here to tell you, one thing I realized is once I said I can't do this anymore, and I actually left, the opportunities just start coming everywhere. And I'm able to do everything in a way that's so much more forgiving to this human body of mine.
Mm.
And
Mm.
it's just sad because I don't think people, they're like in this full-time job, they feel like they've given so many hours and years of their life to it, they don't feel like they can leave. So yeah, just try to listen in. That's my best
Mm.
first step. Just see how you're feeling about what you're doing to yourself.
Wow. I wanted to bring it up because you're there, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and you may actually reach that one physician.
Yeah.
Because one thing I do want to let people know is Dr. Cindy, she stated that she said, give her a call, and she really means it.
Yeah.
She is at Dr. Cindy Starke with an E.com/spark dash call. And it would give you an availability to book a call to uncover whatever is holding you back
Yeah.
and whatever you really truly want in life. And I say this now because that's the purpose of Cold Press Conversations, is to bring out the good stuff that sometimes is hard to speak about or even think about because we always look at the surface, and to learn that there are people out there who want to help, who've been where you are. And Dr. Stark would
I
like you
know.
to
I
spark
should have
a
called
call
that a
with her.
spark call.
Yeah, I had to do it.
I just want to see if we have a connection. So it's only a 15-minute call. And if we have a connection and if I think I can help you, I will offer you more time on my calendar. But as you can imagine, I can't just go off and give an hour of my time to every single person. But I'm so passionate about this. And I'm telling you, there are people in that hospital, Dr. Williams, that are taking care of other people and nobody's taking care of them.
Right.
You know, like
Yes.
they're empty bags of trauma like that. Why do you think we all went into being doctors and nurses and case managers? Because we want to take care of people the way we wish someone would have taken care of us.
Yeah.
And we just go and go and go until we're just like zombies. I feel like it's at least 75% incidence. And it doesn't
Mm,
have to be that way. You can find
mm,
your joy again. But yeah, it's shame. People don't talk about it in the hospital setting, but I can see it. Like I told you the other day, it took me 3 hours at work the other day to even get someone to even say hello back to me. They're just walking zombies. Everyone's just like looking at their phone and they're just like so myopic. So
mm.
I think it's dehumanized us all. And I hate that.
Sad. No,
I
no,
don't
no.
want it to be.
You're telling a lot of truth right there. I also got to put something in there. When I asked the first question, it was regarding like what brought her to where she is, and what Dr. Stark did is that she has some key lessons that she put into her from fear and failure to the finish line. I like that alliteration. Sorry. From fear and failure to the finish line.
Mm.
So she has a book and she goes through quite a bit. Can you give me your top 3 key lessons that you want to spark their interest? If you got a copy, go ahead and show it to them.
Such a beautiful book, and the lady that designed it did such a good job.
Love the
So this
cover.
is about my thank you. It's a very, very short read. Can you see how little it
Yeah.
is?
Yeah.
So anyway, the top key takeaways. Okay, I'll just tell you the key takeaways. We won't have to get into the backstory of what all the book is about, but it is, no matter what your goal is in life, if you break it down to little bitty pieces, it
Mhm.
is doable. Don't get overwhelmed in the enormity of everything. Take everything one step at a time. And the other one is to believe in yourself. You can do anything you set your mind to. And then I think the other one, which is really the most important one, is that once you decide, decide means to cut off other options, and you decide you're going to do it, then people are there to support you in your dreams. And you don't have to think you got to do everything by yourself. Those are the top 3 takeaways in my book.
Okay. I'm elated because everything we've talked about today connects. We're talking
Yeah.
about a big mind map right here. I'm a teacher by trade as well. So if I could get that mind map, I could put the circle right here and I could talk about how all of it's there, but it all still goes right back to the center.
Mm-hmm,
And what
mm-hmm.
you've been doing is telling us we are the center.
Oh, yes, that's good. I was going to ask you, what do you do? What is your doctorate in, and what do you do?
I have a doctorate in health science, and I focused on clinician work as well as higher education. I got my degree
Oh,
from the University of Bridgeport.
oh,
And I'm an
wonderful.
EMT. That's what I do
Yeah,
throughout the week.
emergency
Emergency
medical.
medical technician.
So you are in the ambulances seeing patients?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Oh
ma'am.
my
I help
God.
with a lot of the interfacility transfers, discharges, as well as on the side, I do some work with the community EMT when I have an opportunity. I help my community paramedic out. He's amazing. Yeah, I do that. Yeah. So I do this because I was just doing it originally just to let people know all of the good stuff I learned when I was in my doctorate, talking to the various physicians. Even before I was a teacher, I was in healthcare as well, and I would have excellent conversations with physicians. And I'm like, you know what? Some people need to hear what physicians, paramedics, dentists, anyone in that medical profession and healthcare setting, even CNAs, medical assistants, ER techs, they have such good information that they could share with others.
Mm-hmm.
And I just started because I wanted people to learn more about who everyone was.
That's wonderful.
We do so much in the community.
Well, I want to thank you and for all of your people in your profession for bringing the patient safely to us. I work in 2 hospitals now, and one of them is a really, really big one. It's like a 700 bed, level 2 trauma. If it gives you any idea of how big it is, there must be, man, I wish I had an exact number, at least 7 neurosurgeons, if that tells you how big the hospital
Wow,
is.
that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, I mean, most people don't even have a neurosurgeon, and we have 7. And there might be more. But anyway, when you guys bring our patients to us in the emergency room, it's like I see them as these chariots, they're these stretchers that kind of like stand up. It's like an
Yeah.
accordion and it goes up. And I just love how the patients you sit them up if they can, and they're like at eye level to everybody. So they're just like going around the hospital in the emergency room, kind of like a queen on a throne. And they're mostly, little elderly men and women. And I just want to thank you for how you guys treat them so tenderly and so respectfully and bring them to us so we can get them better. It's just really cool. It's such a dynamic organization to work in, the emergency
Thank
room.
you. Thank you. I appreciate everything that all of my colleagues do. I really, really do. It's a
Yeah.
profession that I am very elated to have gone into, even
Yes.
though it is my slash third career.
Yeah. That's
Slash third.
okay.
It's okay. Before we go, I got to give you one question.
Yeah.
The question is, I often send my guests off with a favorite cold pressed juice question. What would it be? What type of cold pressed juice would you have?
Oh, I was even wondering how you got the name of this. Okay.
Now you
You know,
see why? Because what I do when you cold press, you get all of the good nutrients, even though it is compacted. And yes, you have the seeds and the skin on the side, but you're getting the good stuff and it has not been heated. So it doesn't change the molecular structure of what you're drinking. Now, it of course has more calories, so you do everything in moderation. And that is what we should do collectively as well.
I love that. Okay. My son would literally gag if he took a single sip of it, but it's my favorite. And it's one of those green juices that has cucumber, celery, and kale, and lemon, pineapple, and the turmeric, the fresh turmeric
Oh, I
hint.
love it.
Yeah.
I've
It's
made
like
one like that.
sunshine, liquid green sunshine. I love
Yes.
it. I love it.
Oh, I love it. Sounds refreshing. And it matches who you are, being that you love nature too.
Yeah, yeah, well, yeah, okay, I do. Green is the color, right? I mean, green
Yeah.
is everywhere because it's life.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I would just want to say thank you so much for having Dr. Cindy Stark here. Once again, she is an amazing physician. She has her MD and her PhD. Please be sure to just go on and visit her at her website. Go ahead, Dr. Stark, tell them your website.
Yeah, it's just drcindystark.com. Couldn't get it
Right?
much more easy than that. So if you go there, it'll also have that link to book a call, and let's connect, because I would just love to help anybody who's struggling, because you don't have to keep struggling anymore,
You
especially people
don't.
in the
Mhm.
healthcare profession. I just think we're not encouraged to talk about it. So we don't. And so we'll be private and you can tell me what's going on for real, down below.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Cold Press Conversations. If you love this episode as much as I did, I need you to head on over and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This is Dr. Jewel signing off to health and cognitive happiness.